So one of the big pushbacks of the offseason that we've gotten via the social channels or via the YouTube comment section is how high we are on Oklahoma relative to maybe the rest of the college football public. Because Vegas has Oklahoma at over 6.5 wins. I think a lot of people will pick Oklahoma to finish somewhere in that range. And if they pick them to finish better than that, it won't be by a whole lot better. And people are starting to accuse us of being overly positive, being all about the sunshine and rainbows. You're after it for the clicks. We'll address all that, I promise you. Right now, before we do that, we do need you to subscribe to the channel. So if you're an Oklahoma fan, you want more Oklahoma content, you're a college football sicko, just go ahead and join us. Best way to join us is by being subscribed. So appreciate y'all for that. What a segue. But here's what I will say. A year ago this time, how quickly they forget. We picked Oklahoma to finish 6-6. And you would have thought that I declared war on the state of Oklahoma. You would have thought that I cursed the city of Norman and that we were just anti-Oklahoma, and we saw everything in the comment section from this guy hates Venables, he hates Oklahoma. It's just all of it. We heard all of it. Then Oklahoma finished 6-6, and that conversation evolved into, well, you didn't predict the injuries, which apparently we were supposed to do. But the point I'm trying to make here is we don't have any allegiance to anybody on this show. We love college football, but we don't have any allegiance to any specific fan base that watches our show more than others. Like that's not what we're here for. So with that out of the way, I think that the reason why we're so high in Oklahoma relative to maybe the rest of the college football public is a couple of different factors that play into that. But one of the biggest is I think people are completely misevaluating how much John Mateer means to this football team. Maybe another way to put that, or maybe an equally impactful point, the situation John Mateer is in at Oklahoma, I think cannot be overstated in terms of importance on Oklahoma's success in 2025. Because you're not just getting a guy at Oklahoma and John Mateer that accounted for 44 touchdowns and lit it up last year statistically and was great on the ground and great through the air, all of those things. Like that's awesome. We're here for that, and we factor that in. But you're getting that plus the actual offensive system that he played in a year ago under Ben Arbuckle and with John Kuzieski as quarterback coach of Washington State. Both those guys are now with him in Norman. So we think Carson Beck's going to be great at Miami. We think some other transfer portal quarterbacks. Jackson Arnold, I think he could have success at Auburn. But both those individuals now are trying to figure out new offenses at new places. That's not John Mateer's story. Now you got to figure it out with different teammates and establish chemistry, and there's a bunch of other factors that go into the offense being successful. But he's starting at a different point than some other quarterbacks that also made decisions to transfer to other schools. So that's not guaranteeing success, but I do think a lot of people are missing the fact that Oklahoma offensively is in a much more stable spot than what they were a year ago with a different coordinator and a quarterback that, was playing college football for the first time as a starting quarterback. There was a lot there that you were hoping would work together. I'm not hoping John Mateer and this offensive system works well together, hoping that the players are able to stay more healthy than last year. That's a pretty obvious point. But like the perimeter talent was never really a question for Oklahoma last year, was it? In fact, us on this show, we were, telling everybody that would listen, hey, the reason why Oklahoma could be successful is because of Deion Burks, because of Jaleel Farouk. A lot of guys last year that, you were hoping would have more success than they did. But this upcoming season, you're talking about Deion Burks again. You're talking about Jay Knott transferring in from Cal in the backfield for him. You're talking about just the way that they're able to scheme guys open in that offense. You're not wondering about the perimeter talent. You're wondering about how does it all work together, but not about the perimeter talent. And you're not wondering if the quarterback's going to be able to pick up the system. So to put a bow on that first point, Oklahoma offensively, I don't think people are putting nearly enough weight into the situation and the person they have at quarterback, and they won John Mateer. The other thing I'll say is I think when you talk about how Oklahoma's being evaluated nationally, as much as they're not putting enough stock into the offense, I don't think they're putting nearly enough stock into the maybe I'll say this again. Not enough stock into the offense. I think they are putting too much stock into what last year was at Oklahoma. And maybe even before that, Brent Venables and his time in Norman, Oklahoma. Because I think there's this narrative out there that Brent Venables isn't a good head coach or he's not cut out to be a head coach, just a coordinator. And I think people make that claim and they stand on the idea of, well, look at his record. JD last year, 6-7. Yeah, had a good year the year before in the Big 12, but he had Dylan Gabriel and all that. But the year before that, what were they? 6-7. So 2 6-win seasons at Oklahoma, that's not going to cut it. And you're right, it's not going to cut it. But when you say that, make sure you apply the proper context. His first year at Oklahoma, he was trying to put the roster together with sticks and glue because he lost a bunch of guys via the portal. They do that. They have the year they have. Second year, win double-digit ball games. Then last season, what happens? First year in the SEC, again, new coordinator, new quarterback, all those things, a bunch of injuries, all that didn't work. Offensive line was brand spanking new. So the context, again, I don't think we're applying the proper amount of weight to what that was. And also, going forward now, we're applying too much weight to, okay, well, they were a 6-win team last year. They should be a 6-win team again this year. No, that's not how this works. What I just said, John Mateer, new offensive system, weapons. Brent Venables calling the defense now. Brent Venables, we've said this a lot on the show, but I'll say it again. I think you can make the case for him being the best defensive mind in college football. And if he's not, you have a very real argument about him versus Kirby Smart versus some other, Jim Knowles, I guess you could factor in there. But bottom line, Brent Venables, tier 1 mind in college football when it comes to the defensive side. He's now calling the defense. I have to believe that side of the ball will be in good shape. So, again, I think there's too much weight into, well, they were this last year, so therefore this upcoming year, they'll be that again, while not actually evaluating the additions they've made to the roster and evaluating how close they were in a lot of these different spots a season ago. Now, last thing I'll say, and this is the most valid critique when people are skeptical of Oklahoma, and this is probably the most real talking point for all of us. The schedule for Oklahoma is brutal, right? Like if you gave, no knock on Missouri, but if you gave Oklahoma Missouri's schedule, I happen to believe that win total preseason would be a lot higher in Vegas. Oklahoma plays 7 teams right now that are in the preseason top 25. They play 2 of those teams that are going to be top 10 teams in the preseason top 25. I mean, Texas is going to be, right now at least, has the second best odds to win the national championship. We happen to believe that Oklahoma is going to play, count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on how you feel about Ole Miss and Michigan, call it 5-ish teams that could compete for a college football playoff spot. I mean, like, there's a real conversation here for Oklahoma to have one of the toughest, if not the toughest, schedule in all of college football, and the metrics would back that up when you look at what ESPN's calculator says about the whole thing. But I would just caution us now, as we sit here right now in the month of June, to understand that right now we don't know what we don't know. And it sounds like a cop-out, but what I will say, like 2023, Missouri preseason is projected in Vegas to win 6.5 games over-under, right? That same season, Missouri goes out and wins 10 games. So that's not me saying Oklahoma is going to be preseason Missouri, but what I will say is if you were looking at Missouri on the schedule preseason, you probably count them as a win. Same thing for Oklahoma. When you look at what they have on their schedule, there's a lot of teams there in the inverse kind of psychology. Maybe you're counting them as a tougher opponent. We don't know what Ole Miss is going to have at quarterback. We don't know what Arch Manning is going to be for sure at quarterback. Oklahoma, 9 of their Power 4 opponents that they have on the schedule, 7 of them have a new quarterback. 7. Now, Oklahoma, you say, well, we're breaking a new quarterback too. Yeah, you are, but not in a new offensive system. 7 of 9 haven't played college football. All right? Well, Jackson don't play college football, but you hear what I'm saying. There's a lot that's going to be new that they're playing against. So my bet here is that the stability of Oklahoma, that the culture for Brent Venables and all those things are going to, I think, be in a much more reliable place than they were a year ago. And you pair that with what I believe is a better overall roster talent that Brent Venables has had since coming to Norman. So we get a lot of people in the comment section saying, JD, you're hyping up Oklahoma, and then come prediction time, you'll pick them to win 6 games. I'll tell you this, right now, if you ask me to make a bet, I'd predict the over on Oklahoma and their win total. So right now they're at 6.5. I'll take them over 7.5 if that's what you gave me. I think they'll be a lot better than most people think, and that's the reason why. So Oklahoma fans, let me know your thoughts. College football fans, let me know your thoughts. Get at us on here, Instagram, Twitter, at JD PicKell. Also, if you're watching out at the end of the video, you're a real one. 629-888-3931. Give us a voicemail. Let us know your thoughts on Oklahoma and their win total or whatever else you want to talk about, and we'll make sure we get you on the show. For Kane Smith on the ones and twos, for myself, JD PicKell, appreciate y'all. Love y'all. We'll keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time.